Okay.
Oh my God.
Maya and Rohan.
We're
On
so
our
excited.
first Amazing Race recap, episode 1, season 37.
I know. The
Wow.
morning after, we all partied it up at the premiere party in New York City. I feel like our voices are like
Girl, I sound
hanging on by threads.
I
Like,
sound like a sea hag.
yeah,
I'm like,
literally.
You guys got to be the hostess with the mostest.
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know if those shoes were
Hostess
really.
with the grossest,
Yeah.
maybe.
How are you guys feeling? How did you feel about the episode? We'll talk about the episode specifically. We'll go through everything, but just your like initial thoughts, like how was our party? I'm just kidding. Let's react it.
The episode and the party were great. Oh my goodness,
Awesome.
I'm so happy the race is back. Like with another
Me
season.
too.
It's been
Oh
so
my God.
long.
Yes.
And,
Like
I'm again, she said it, but I'm so excited that it's back. The season looks incredible. From the previews, it looks like there's so many fun locations and challenges, and I can't wait for the twists.
oh my God,
Yeah.
yes.
Season of twists.
And so so for those of you who don't know, Maya and Rohan were on the last season of Amazing Race, season 36, and
And they are literally icons.
Oh,
I think
thank
icons.
you.
like
Thank
it's
you.
not close. I will just say they went home episode 1, but I don't think anyone has ever been so iconic.
our friend came up to us yesterday and he was like, I was starstruck.
Literally,
Seeing Maya and
literally,
Rohan.
straight up.
For real.
really lost in Puerto Vallarta looking for a map. We just couldn't find one.
We encountered some like nice 3-foot tall curbs, like
Oh.
you know.
Yeah.
can
You
we-
couldn't
can
just
we
drive on the
go
curb.
over
You
You
that?
got up close and personal with Puerto Vallarta's like city planning
Infrastructure,
Like,
yeah.
And we ended up doing an 1,000-point turn in front of Senor Frogs.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it might be a world record. most turns in front of a senior frog.
And I got us into the mess, but I was like,
Just like in real life, I got us out. You know, it might
Yeah.
take us a little bit of time.
So we're so excited to have you here today,
Thank
especially to
you.
talk about episode 1 on our season. So thanks for coming.
thank you for having us.
Of course. Yeah, let's get into the episode a little bit. Episode 1 began at the Academy Museum.
In Los Angeles.
How
Los Angeles,
iconic.
yes.
Kind of iconic, no?
Yeah.
What's
Star-studded from the jump.
Yeah,
Yes.
what's crazy is when we were at final callbacks for the race, we drove past it and I was like, that would be a great place to start.
I know.
So we had like clocked it as something that was like a potential.
What a fun manifestation.
I know,
Yeah.
maybe we did that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Carson. So when we were filming this, we were having some camera issues, and at this point in the video, it starts to slide a little bit to have Rohan be off screen. Now, we fix it in a few minutes, so stay tuned. I just didn't want y'all to freak out, being like, where's Rohan going? Okay, keep watching.
Extremely lucky, obviously. Not only does my aunt live right there, and I lived with her for over a year, but also while I lived with her, I was in college, and I went to college like 2 blocks from the airport. So like I made that trek every day and back. So it
Yeah.
was like
Awesome. You
So
knew
easy.
exactly
You knew
where
those
you were
roads.
going.
Now, at the pit start, going back and watching season 5, every time somebody walks in, it's like they immediately do everyone's backstory.
Yeah.
And they haven't done that in a long time. Do you guys like that? When it's like, let's get to know every single team right out the gate? Or
I feel like we get to know people better off when it's interspersed through. Like, I feel like sometimes it takes a little while to get to know someone,
Uh-huh.
but like I feel like you get to know them better and more in depth when we do it with the breakdown. But
Yeah,
mhm.
I think there's like probably pros and cons
Yeah.
to both of them, but like if you give us like I feel like they're like now there's like 13 14 teams. Like back in the day it was
Right.
like 10 or 11.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though it doesn't
True.
sound like 3 teams is that much more, like if you're at the beginning and you listen to like 14 people's backstories before you start, that's like a half an hour.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
right off
Yeah.
the bat. So like
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of like an adaptation, but I think it's like fun like when they're doing a challenge, you're like, you know, like I really relate to this, and then they go into
Right.
their backstory.
Right,
That's fun
like
to s-
without jumping the gun, like Jackie and Lauren, the stairs
Yes.
story,
Yes,
right? Like
right.
that's a backstory thing you can't say at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. It like
Right.
only
Has
comes
to
about
be.
naturally.
in the
but-
moment. Y'all were iconic
Yes.
from the start
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
shoot the
the
bow.
shooting of
and-
the bow.
We make this podcast
yeah.
just to get complimented.
The Katniss Everdeen moment.
That was
Yeah.
iconic. I mean, we're always going to be drawn to the brother-sister teams. Like, that's
Uh-huh.
what we are drawn to.
Han
so
and Holden.
Han and Holden,
Yeah.
they're icons already. I can't wait to see what they achieve.
Yeah. Do you love? I also love that moment where she's like, "He's my annoying
Annoying little
brother."
brother.
Emphasis
Yeah.
on annoying or
Yes.
whatever. Like, do you?
I relate to
real.
that.
Yeah,
You're my
right.
brother.
It's like a sibling vibe.
Yeah.
My thoughts as well when we were at this, like, none of us had spoken, right? I know we've talked about this before, but like, just how many queer people there are in this season
Yes,
is
I
everything.
love
Like,
the
Yeah.
representation.
we had a hunch that maybe Courtney and Jasmine were dating because like she had like a little rainbow like
Yeah, she did
bracelet, but we were like still not sure.
We and other teams also thought for a second, Mark and Larry, the firefighters, they replaced their wedding rings on the race with these like rubber wedding rings, so they didn't lose their wedding rings. But they were the same ring. It was the same
we were like,
rubber
"Oh."
wedding ring. So half the teams were like, "Well, they're married."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not true. But
Yeah, so when we're on the starting mat, obviously Phil says, as we know, this is a season of surprises. What surprises like would you be looking forward to, or what do you think like you would be scared of or good at on the race?
I mean, the surprise that we wanted to look forward to and we were looking for, like, was the fast forward. Like, I feel like the fast forwards are always so iconic.
Right.
Like, the entire time leading up to it, I was like, Rohan, I will not shave my head. I hate to break it to you. I will not shave my head. If that is something that comes up, that is a deal breaker.
Okay.
that was such an iconic moment, though.
I know.
when
Was-
that
She like
happened.
lost. Was that Rachel?
No, Rachel didn't do it. She
Rachel
had the
didn't
do it.
opportunity
That's
to
what I
do
mean,
it. But
yeah.
all the way back in the day, Uchenna and Joy.
Uchenna,
Oh
did
yeah,
it.
they
yeah.
did it.
Joy shaved her head, and then they went on to win the race, which
Mhm.
is
So
incredible.
amazing.
And like, we haven't seen like an intense like fast forward in a little while. I know they were on season 35, but it wasn't something like, oh, like you have to get a tattoo, or oh, like you have to like run through a
Yeah.
fire. So
Right.
I'm really excited to see what they pick to be a fast forward task for this season.
We've obviously been teased that there are old surprises coming back and there are new surprises. We've seen one of those this episode, which we'll talk about. But is there any sort of like new surprise or twist or something that like has been banging around in your mind? Like, oh my God, I wish they would do something like this. Like,
During our season, we were talking about some kind of an express pass where like everyone gets one and you have to use it before the end of a certain leg.
Right.
So like you have to strategize about like when your
When.
time is to
Right.
like get ahead. Like
In early seasons, they used to have a fast forward every leg.
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
could do.
right.
You can only use it once.
yeah.
But yeah, that would be interesting again to bring that
yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
vibe back.
After he previews the season of surprises, we run downstairs, we get our
Rip.
clues, we rip and read. First time of the season, we're going to Hong Kong.
How incredible.
Yeah.
An amazing
It
place
was
to start.
so
Whoa! Yeah, it was crazy.
It was giving very Jackie and Lauren. Fly to Hong Kong! It was like how I was feeling internally.
Yes.
Externally, I was giving like
Fly to Hong Kong.
locked the fuck in and like having no fun. Like, but yeah, I was glad they did this because I think it's always interesting when you go to somewhere that has a different written script. It makes it
Yes.
harder
Yeah.
because like you can't read the signs as
Yeah.
easily.
And you see there's a language
Yeah,
barrier
there's a
right off in the
language
first
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Courtney and Jasmine, when they're not showing
The characters.
the Cantonese characters to the taxi driver, they can't get a
They
taxi.
have no idea.
And so that was like a really interesting thing that I think you don't always get when you like start in Europe. You know, is like the travel drama right away.
Yes.
Yeah, there's the language barrier, but also when you go to a culture that is so different and that you
Yes.
can't ask the cultural questions as well. Like something about the taxis, which we can talk about, but something we had to like sort of realize on the race was that in Hong Kong, you can't just hail a taxi like you do in New York. Like you have to go to a taxi
Stand.
stand. Like you have to be at a specific designated area. And so I think like those things too. If we were in London or something, like we could so much easier.
Just be like, hey.
It was so much easier to ask, like, what's the deal with taxis here, right? But like, I don't know how to ask what's the deal with taxis here in Cantonese.
Yeah.
So like, we just sort of have to like use a sense
Context
of what's
clues.
going on.
Yeah. So before we even got to Hong Kong, we actually have a lot to say. There was like so much tea that happened right out the gate. So number one, something I feel like they didn't show, which was crazy, because it was to us, all of the players.
The thing about
It was
episode 1,
the thing we were excited to see in episode 1.
Yeah.
Which was that Pops and Jeff left their fanny pack with their passports at the starting line.
Oh my
Oh
god.
And they drove. Didn't actually end up affecting the race, so I understand why they cut it. But they drove all the way to the airport.
Wow.
And they said we
Which
don't
is
have
like
our
an
passport.
hour.
And then they drove all the way back to the Academy Museum. Saw a fanny pack on the ground. Picked it up. Got back in the car. Back to the
Went
airport.
back to the airport.
And it was crazy because at that point, like, we're all chatting in the airport, like we're getting to know each
Making
other,
connections.
making connections, exchanging money, and everyone is talking about is the rumor that they left
Somewhere
their
Pops and
passport.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they came, there was like this huge like welcome sort of party of like you're getting your tickets like
Yeah.
right before we board or whatever. But
Wow.
My irrational fear was that I was gonna wear the fanny pack and it would like come undone in like a taxi cab, and that would be the end.
And
like,
you'd not
I would
notice.
just straight up lose the fanny pack.
yeah, it's like a child.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
on the race. It's like who's got the baby? Like
Yeah.
you know, like
It very much has happened before. Like people have been eliminated because they've lost their
for
fanny pack.
sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Then, what also they didn't show, we run into the airport. We're talking, obviously, about like, oh my God, Hong Kong. Has anyone been to Hong Kong? And we're talking with Bernie and Kerrigan. And Kerrigan goes,
At the same time, like that's you guys are us. Ask us if we've ever been to Hong Kong.
Have you ever been to
To
Hong Kong?
no.
Yes. Oh,
I thought we said we weren't going to say that.
Oops.
Like, straight up. It was like,
it was us, Courtney and Jasmine and Bernie Kerrigan or something, and we were like,
yeah.
yeah. So they had to come clean about it, and I think they were obviously like upset that sort of slipped through, but it was also a moment of like, well, now you got to don't share that with anybody. You know, it's like now it's like an alliance. Kind
Yeah,
of,
it's a little
you know,
secret.
like,
It's our little secret.
Um,
Yeah, so they were trying to like pull a fast one. And then also a random airport thing that was so funny was that for some reason I started voguing through the airport.
yeah.
And then Scott of Lori and Scott, Pink Team from Salt Lake City, starts singing RuPaul. And he goes, "Cover girl, put the bass in your walk." And we're like, what?
How iconic.
Yeah,
I know.
Crazy.
It was a really good like sort of lesson right out the gate that like
Not
Don't
only
judge a
that,
book by its
don't
cover.
judge,
Don't
like
judge a book by its cover.
really get to know these people.
Yeah.
Like,
And then also he was like, "And you guys are D&D people? I love D&D. I used to play with my sons or something." And I was like,
yeah.
Whoa.
what?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
All that happened there. All the relationship building that
Yeah.
happened there.
All
Okay.
right.
Then we get to Hong Kong.
How long was the flight?
Oh, girl, it was so long. The flight was
At
so
least it
long.
was direct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a downside and an upside to race brain, which is that
Yeah.
like I was busy the whole time. Like I
Yes.
was like thinking about stuff and okay, well, what are we gonna, like it kind of flew by
Yeah.
because you just have so much to think about.
And
Yeah.
while you were in the airport, were you like trying to do research on where you had to go? Like once you got to Hong Kong, or were you waiting or?
I think it was an interesting. There were so many people, right? 14 teams plus 14 camera people, 14 sound people, producers. There were like hundreds of, over
Yeah.
100 people flying to Hong Kong just from the
Yes.
race. So it's like a ton of people all around, and you wanted to sort of use that to like, yeah, maybe we should do research, but also there's so many people watching
Yeah.
that like it kind of
You don't wanna
singles
be
you out.
targeted.
You don't want to be
Yeah.
targeted, being like, oh, they really. I remember Anna and Jonathan really were doing like,
Research.
where like it's like we're all talking, and it was like it's something we clocked, being
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, like that's gonna put a target on your back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Scott as well. Scott and Lori.
Scott,
Scott
yeah.
is like research crazy. That first leg, he was like, I think he even came up to us as like, again, as like show of faith or like a social tactic, being like, I think he showed us something at some point, being like, this is where we're going. This is what it looks like or something. And we were like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like almost like using information also as like
A bait.
trading.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
also there is something about not using information and just like talking to people as currency.
Yeah.
Right,
You know.
right.
So
'Cause there's race currency and like strategic currency, but then there's also the social currency because
Mhm.
he's already like said that there's going to be twists after twists.
Right.
So you never know like what is going to be more helpful in the long run.
Right,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it better to keep someone close that you know is getting a lot of information because you want that information?
Yeah.
Or does that make you want to take them down?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're
Right.
like they're tough competition. They know a lot of information. They
I do have a question, just
Okay.
based off
go for
pure
it.
currency exchange. Do you exchange currency before the flight, or did you guys get in and then do it?
we tried to always do it before.
Yeah, we tried to do it before, and that was an interesting thing too. One of the teams got Starbucks like before flying to Hong Kong, and we were like, "That's a choice."
Yeah,
you know,
like- You really think you have that much money? Like we
Yeah,
aren't so
yeah.
sure. We don't know.
He had to give me the speech of, "I understand that you need coffee. We are not getting coffee
Uh,
in the airport." I was like, "But Rohan, what if I need it?"
yeah.
yeah. Well, there is free coffee on
Yeah.
the plane, so I think like
Yes.
because I also like girl, like, I hear that. But yeah, it was also like sort of gauging what's everyone else doing. I think
Yeah.
it's like a really interesting thing because some people didn't exchange all their money, but we were like, if most people are exchanging all their money, one, we can get a group discount,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and two, we know that the game will be balanced. That if
Yes.
everyone experiences hardship, we all will experience that, and that will be okay.
Yes.
We don't want to be the outlier. Like, I only have US, and I thought that would be smart, but now you're not accepting this, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
or I've given you way too much money because the
Because
US,
I
the
just
US
gave you a $20
Yeah.
bill.
$20
because it's what I had.
and it's like-
yeah.
Yeah. It,
so much expensive.
it
over there,
was
yeah.
definitely also like a generational divide on that, which was so interesting. I think was like
Oh.
a lot of the older contestants wanted to keep U.S. dollars on themselves,
Interesting.
and I feel like the younger contestants, like you and I, we were like, let's exchange everything into the foreign currency every time.
But it all depends on the race. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like
Yeah.
that could be really helpful if it's really strong in one country and you like find a way to make that work. Like that's like not to be like our strategy was right. I just think with what everyone was doing, I think that was right for us. But
yeah.
yeah.
it depends. But
So then we go.
we go to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was just 4 seconds in the TV show?
Yeah.
We're now
It's an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we learned that actually they have to like last minute change the route. So at first we were supposed to take a cable car up to the Buddha,
Yeah,
the
we
big
had to
Buddha
take
that
a
we went to.
taxi to a cable car to the big Buddha.
But it was too rainy and windy and like lightningy that they were like, y'all can't
Cable car,
do
right.
that. So we just took a taxi right to the Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course that leads us to the iconic moment of Jackie and the stairs.
Yeah.
fear.
Stairs.
Stairgate.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
The Amazing Race loves their stairs.
Yes.
Like loves their
Yes.
stairs.
Yeah. Well,
It's a hard thing to be afraid of on The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But something I was thinking about too was like I feel like I talked to so many people like we're always like everyone should do it. Everyone should apply.
Yes.
It's like such an incredible experience. Like I experienced so many people being like I could never do it. I can't swim. Or like I could never do it.
I'm
One
afraid of
little
stairs.
thing, right? And I'm like, that's exactly what the race is about. Like everyone's gonna come up to some fear, and that's so inspiring, so cool to watch. You
Yes.
know, like
And they're so inspiring. I love their spirits. You know, they're our purple team relatives.
Yes.
yes.
They are everything. We were just so devastated when
Yeah.
they went home.
Completely,
Completely
like,
crushed.
They are
Yeah.
everything. And speaking of them on the race, but also after the race too, it's like I genuinely believe that Jackie and Lauren, no joke, like I believe they have life completely figured out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with speaking to them, like they individually they've both come to visit New York and we've had like drinks with them and like hearing their outlook on life and like saying yes and also not being worried about like how things are gonna turn out.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
they're always just so positive and want to suck like the bone marrow out
Yeah.
of life.
And it resonates with us so much because when you're in that last spot and you know that you've had that rough day and you're running up to the pit stop, like I feel like the only way that you can approach it is with gratitude and like having that grace and being like, no matter what, like this is the coolest opportunity that you can have, and I love them for.
Yeah.
But I also like, I want to say, like, you said like the only way you can approach it, and I'm like, no, like give yourselves more credit than that. Like that is not the only way you can approach it, and like, but it is so admirable to approach it that way.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy.
It's stressful
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's why it's so inspiring to see.
It didn't feel like a defeat, right? It actually felt like a victory. I feel like when
Yes.
they finished the race
100%.
and got to the map. Like,
Yes.
anyway, but we're getting ahead of
Yeah,
we're ahead of the game.
we're at the end. Yeah. Next, we took a taxi from the Big Buddha to the
Pier.
Pier 5 for the Sun Ferry.
Mhm. to
Um,
Chung Chao Island.
I remember
Ugh,
so
girl.
vividly us going in two different directions, Anna and
As
Jonathan
Anna.
and us, and it was so like, because you know in those moments you're like, oh, this could be
Yeah.
we could be gone for 5 hours, like if we go completely the wrong direction.
Even before the fork in the road
Yes.
started, it like felt like our first fork in the road, and we watched them go the other way. And to our cab driver, we were like, "Hey,
Are you sure
they
we're
went that way."
Was your taxi driver using a GPS?
I don't think
Didn't
so.
use
no.
GPSs
Interesting.
there.
Yeah.
Anna and Jonathan get on the ferry. We don't make it. Womp womp. Obviously, that was hard when we saw every other team except for Jackie and Lauren.
I'll
we
never
were like,
forget that.
we were like,
Oh no, that's our lead.
As we talk about the experience, it's so specific and rare, I feel like, of an experience to be like seeing someone so unbelievably excited for something that you're
You were
not
dreading.
excited- you're like,
Yeah.
that's your nightmare, like
Yeah.
is such a crazy like
Yes.
dichotomy.
I'll never forget the look on Alyssa's face. She was like, guys!
And we were like,
And we were like,
Yeah.
So that was hard. We came in with a few mantras. One of those things was obstacles as opportunities. And so I think after a couple minutes, we were like grumpy. And then we were like, okay, well, maybe we don't have a lead now. But again, like now we can make connections with people. We can make sure that we're like on people's good side and stuff like that. So that was like an opportunity that we had that Anna and Jonathan maybe didn't have when they got on the
Yeah.
first ferry.
also not seem as big of a threat.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That like we're
Absolutely.
just like you. Like
We're
I
here
know
together.
we've been on the first flight or whatever.
But that was luck.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was then, this is now, we're all together.
Yeah.
That-
And then
they
we
were
could be
fun.
like, oh my God, how did they get on the first ferry? We were right with them. Like, they must be so smart, right? Like, you can sort of
Divert,
like
single them
yeah,
out,
divert
divert
the
the
blame.
energy.
Yeah.
Then we do the buns climb.
Yeah.
The buns climb. Oh my God. Brett going up that tower,
He
first
That
of all,
was
was
insane.
so crazy. Pops, too.
Pops.
Yeah.
No
Arms
legs.
only.
And he's like, he wasn't even using his legs. Like, what?
That was crazy. But
It was completely insane.
maybe again, best of all, Lauren.
Yes.
Lauren, once she got to the top, and then
How excited she
being
was.
belayed
Yes.
down horizontally, almost looking like Jesus being held by Mother Mary. It was
Literally.
like, to me,
the
like-
moment of the episode.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Which one of you would have climbed up the tower?
Me.
Word!
Right off the
Yes!
bat, I see the tower.
Yes.
It's not like I'm like afraid of heights by any means, but she is the adrenaline like junkie. Like
Really?
she-
Yes.
Word.
Did you see Karishma?
Oh,
This is
Oh
incredible.
my goodness.
Yes.
I want to
She-
do it so badly now that I've seen her do it.
Girl. No joke. It
Yes.
has to be one of the craziest videos I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
Karishma from their season of the race was DJing on a platform in a hot air balloon thousands of miles in the sky.
What? Girl.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles?
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
No.
Don't you
It's
think?
hundreds.
Yeah.
I don't think
Of
it's
miles?
thousands
You guys,
of
it's
miles.
like 2 miles.
Really?
Really?
Probably like
Oh,
5
okay,
miles.
okay, yeah.
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 This is why. Listen,
How's
he's
this
the
a
math
math,
guy.
girl?
Like, I'll do
You're
a
on
little.
the moon.
I'll do a little lion dance. You will do the math. Like, I don't know anything. He was trying before the race. He was trying to be like, okay, like quantities is something I'm not very good at. And he was like, what would like the population of it? He knows populations. Like I'm like,
Wow.
what's like, what do you think this city? He like gets it so close. He's like probably around this many thousand or whatever. I'm like, girl, you could tell me like 500. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
Or even I was practicing like, okay, well, if he has to drive and I have to be the map person, and I say like, okay, it's 5 miles away. Do you know like how long that would take?
I'm gonna
And he
need
has no idea.
I'm gonna need you to be like,
Okay,
Next
5
one.
miles.
Next
It's
exit.
not like you're
You know,
watching
yeah.
the odometer and being like 5 miles.
no, don't know. Or weights. We were talking about weights too. Like you know, how much did this weigh? Or like,
conversion, pounds,
Conversion.
kilograms.
girl,
I have the conversions down. I have the conversions down.
really nice.
Before the race started, though, the one thing that I wanted to do was memorize all of the flags because
We did
yeah.
that.
yeah, and be like Sporkle.com, your best friend.
Yeah.
You're like,
We watched a YouTube video. That guy became our best friend. He's
Yeah.
like,
What is this
one?
flag?
Yeah.
Greece.
would I be able to remember it now, like 2.5 years later? Probably.
Not
Now
all
we
of
were
them,
very
but-
much binge and
No.
purge, but
Yeah,
when we were
yeah.
preparing, you're like, okay, we got to memorize every single one, all the colors, all the patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then we run back
We saw Alyssa and Josiah like, oh, they are
like Iron Man.
yes, on,
vibe.
like literally in step. Like
Yeah.
they were like right, left,
like same
Like, we were like,
look. Galloping.
yeah. But
Oh my god, we run back to the ferry. Anna and Jonathan are still there. Now that is the gag. See, this is the opposite reaction we had to when we saw Alyssa show up, and we were like, "Ah," and now we were like, we're all caught up again. It's a good feeling. I will not forget the look on their faces either. They
Yeah.
were
Oh my
upset, and I get it.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. Do you guys like an
Equalizer.
equalizer?
I mean, it's like from a viewer perspective, probably not. But like as you're running the race, if you're ahead, like you want all the time
right.
that you have. Like it's very much a situational thing. Like Colin and Christy back in season 5 when they're getting to tasks literal days before
Yes.
the rest of the teams are.
Even as an audience member, it all depends for me on the situations around it, right? Like
Yes.
this equalizer was so dramatic because it was just Jonathan and Anna,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So like that was really interesting to watch.
And now you're going back on this
And-
ferry with 13 people.
Yeah.
You know, one of you is going to be eliminated.
Yeah.
There's no room for comfort
Well,
at all.
too, and that was the
Yeah.
crazy thing too, is like we started to realize, okay, Jackie and Lauren,
Haven't even gotten here yet.
Yeah.
they haven't gotten to the island. It feels as though that
Might
maybe
be one side of the
Yes.
elimination.
yes.
Yeah.
But what was so crazy is doing the numbers and being like, but still somebody on this ferry is also going home.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
was crazy to be like, even knowing that somebody was that far behind, we couldn't relax.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Then we have to go to the fork in the road. There was a lot of talk too, or I was even thinking, obviously we didn't end up doing this because it's like its own risk. But like there's a world where you let sort of everyone go by you and put their name on the fork in the road because eventually there's a possibility that Jackie and Lauren, because they won't show up, you can be the last person on one side. And if they don't show up, you like pretty much know you're going to get past. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw something on the Amazing Race Discord, which I thought was really interesting, which was someone being like, they shouldn't have even put in English like dance or sing. It should have just been in the Cantonese characters. And so that we would have to like pick one.
either be like, I don't care, I just want to do it quickly
I just
and
wanna go
save that
somewhere.
time.
Yeah.
Or,
Or ask
ask somebody
someone
for the translation
on the
to
street.
then know more information, but then you're risking time.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Kind
yeah.
of interesting. But yeah, we obviously chose dance. It was obviously the easier choice. Let's
Yeah.
just be honest. Like sing was way harder,
Yes.
Yeah.
but more iconic, dare I say. Getting up in the makeup.
Look, when you saw dance and sing, and there were 5 people on dance and only 1 person on sing, and knowing there's a fork in the road, I'm going sing.
Go
all
sing.
the way.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Oh my God.
definitely.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that the sing also involved waiting to get your makeup done for probably half an
Yes.
hour, and then also singing and also dancing.
Sing, yes.
They're like doing this dance. They were like doing it all.
Yeah.
What would have you chosen?
Yeah, that's a great
Dance
question.
or sing?
Sing.
You would have chosen sing.
So here's the
really
thing.
out the gate.
Rohan was a musical theater kid.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
he would have been able to do the singing. I can pick up choreography fairly quickly. Like, I
Okay.
can remember it. But getting him to learn choreography, and then I would have been very pissed off that he couldn't pick up the choreography, and we
Okay.
would have been screaming at each other. So we would have gone sing.
When they do the dance tasks, like you never know like how picky the criteria is going to be
Mhm.
or what the specific style of
Right.
dance is. And like I was talking to Justin yesterday at the party about having flashbacks to Brendan and Rachel's first season
Mhm.
when they were doing
Uh-huh.
the Bollywood dance out in the heat of India, and they were just having to do this dance over and
Yeah.
Yeah.
over and over
35,
again.
the sword dancing or
Yeah.
whatever, like
Was
at
so
in the
much
first-
longer than a 30-minute massage.
Yeah,
Right.
outside. We were practicing outside, and it was just a guy like saying like
Da,
da
da,
da
da,
dum
da,
dum
da.
da da dum bum, right? And we're like, okay, but I was like, I know there's not gonna be a bum 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 in there.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have a band.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to know what these bum bum bums
Sounds
relate
like,
to.
yes.
So I was like, we knew going into it that our first try, we were like, this is literally
good.
a sound test.
To hear the
Yeah.
music.
Like, it was like, if you guys were doing this challenge, who would be the head?
I'm
who
the
would be
head. He doesn't even
Have you
get an
been like,
option.
like while you're watching it, are you like
Yes.
deciding?
That's what we have to do, like, every single time we see it. I'm like, oh, that's what we would have done.
Uh-huh.
Like, in
Yeah.
my head.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because you were saying you're less good at picking up choreography.
Yes,
Yeah.
I two left feet.
Okay.
even though I did musical theater for years.
One of the things that we got super lucky about that they didn't show, but
Yeah.
we were running down the stairs from the dance challenge,
Unless.
and Courtney and Jasmine were pulling up. So they're literally we put our hands on the taxi and we were like, sorry, we're getting in. Like,
Were
So, like,
people
that was
trying
everything.
to save their taxis, or like were they not allowed, or
I think
People were, if it didn't say on the additional information, like release your taxi.
Yeah,
I think most
okay.
people.
well,
but
but
not
for
always.
for the fork in the road, I feel like a lot of people released them. I think it was that careful balance in Hong Kong between like there are a ton of taxis around and
Yeah.
they're super recognizable. It just was you had to find where you could pick them up actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think everyone was so worried about money too. Like,
Yeah.
And for
we,
good
like,
reason. Like
yeah.
by the end of the first leg,
Oh my
like
god.
I
Pennies,
don't know
pennies.
if we
Yeah.
could have afforded Starbucks in the
Yeah,
airport. I don't know how
yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And then we run to the pit stop. And
Woo!
we were first.
Wow. It was
Best
crazy.
What?
thing ever.
An incredible feat on the first leg. Like, how did it feel like when you're like there and Phil gives you that number one?
Honestly, my first thought was like, we were gonna throw a premiere party no matter what. But I was like, our premiere party's gonna go crazy.
Yeah. We were just really proud. I remember talking in the sort of confessionals, like it was, I really, maybe because we were thinking about a premiere party and being like, oh my god, our friends are gonna be so proud of us. Like we were thinking
Yeah,
about our
our
D&D
family.
crew, like our friends who are like freaks and like do crazy stuff. Like I rock climb with some friends and like, you know what I'm saying? So like climbing the
Yeah.
bun tower
Yeah.
or like singing and dancing, like obviously musical theater, or like, it was like
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I've like through my life I've like had so many experiences that like definitely again so much of it was luck. So it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's gratitude for that, but it was also like, wow, I'm so grateful to like have like some sort of experience in some of these things this leg that it just that was sort of an overwhelming sort of feeling at
Yeah.
the end of it.
Finding in the first leg something that you were really proud of in that first leg that you can take into the next one is really
Yeah.
helpful, because obviously sometimes like on the race things get stressful
Yeah.
or you feel like you did poorly or you did shitty at something, but like having one thing that you can be like, I'm really proud of this moment, I think helps you
Carry
revert
it
to
through.
that in a
Yeah.
time of stress.
Yeah, now I have a question for you guys. If they were to ever do a season of all first eliminated, like, have you thought about it? Would you do it? Would you?
They could call us and we would say yes. Like we would
Tomorrow.
revert.
Yeah.
We would revert the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
At the end of 35, like we talked to Alexandra and Sheridan,
Mhm.
and we're like, we know what y'all have been through. You
Yeah.
know what we've been through, and there is that community. And I'm excited to. We've connected with Jackie and Lauren, and we've like talked to them a little bit on social media. But I'm really excited today to be able to reach out to them and
Yeah.
be like, how
Yeah.
incredible your story is, and see how they feel.
Yeah. Because you guys, I need you back on my screen.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
You and Jackie and Lauren. at the same
Literally.
time.
You
Yeah.
know how iconic of a season it would be.
That would
Like,
be so much fun.
Yes.
it would
Yeah.
be so
There still
good.
is like there's still so much that like we haven't gotten to show. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
right.
get to do like a swimming challenge. Is there anything that stands out for you?
I didn't get to do anything adrenaline junkie.
Yeah. I want to
Right.
see you do something crazy.
Hop out of that hot air balloon.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, after DJing. Yeah. In short, the rest of the teams come in. Mark and Larry go home on the dance challenge,
That's right.
and Jackie and
Jackie and
Lauren,
Lauren.
on
Yeah.
sing.
Singing challenge.
The awesome part is that we still got to learn so much about both teams.
Definitely.
and
Yes.
I think they both got great edits.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got to learn their story. We got to learn who they are as people and what their
Mhm.
relationship is to each other.
Yeah.
Mhm. So after the first episode, what are your thoughts on the whole cast? Like anything that is like sort of pinging for you of like, I'm excited to see this storyline go have a through line, or these people I think are going to be successful. These people know, or, whatever.
Well, right off the bat, your season is already a lot different than ours. Like ours, since there were no twists, like I feel like everyone was fairly friendly with one another. With right off the bat, we're seeing a little bit of tension, which I'm liking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As a
Mhm.
viewer,
Yeah.
I'm liking. I didn't make a winner's pick at all. Obviously, you guys are doing really well so
Yeah.
far. I'd love to be able to watch you guys go all the way.
There's so many teams that like, especially on the dance side of things, everyone was one on top of the other.
Yeah.
So there are so many strong teams. Brett and Mark, they were
Yes.
such a big
Mhm.
presence in the first episode.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to our sibling team for breaking the sibling curse.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Oh my God, we love Hannah and Holden.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are like the best.
Jonathan and Anna, super, super competitive, and his reaction to getting second place and how that's going to set the tone for
Yep.
further legs down the road is
They
going
got
to be
a
Yes.
really
super
interesting.
arc this first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think iconic though. Like it
Definitely.
But-
adds so many. I just love when the race has so many different. It portrays so many different feelings.
Yeah.
Both from the players, but also like to the viewer. Like
Yeah.
you feel joy for people, you feel sad for people, you
Yes.
feel like you want to shake them and be like, enjoy this experience, but you
Yes.
also feel the tension that they're under. It's
Yeah.
like so
There's
complicated.
so
And I think they
many-
like nailed that.
I completely get how he's feeling. Like at
Yeah.
a certain point, they were ahead of
course.
everyone
Yeah.
by an hour.
Of
at least.
course.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, a part of you. I mean, we felt that too when the first flight didn't matter really
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
like, I'm excited for Alyssa and Josiah as well. They like
Best people ever.
very much, they were doing it their way for the
Yes.
first leg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They are some of like I know we keep being like best people ever, best people
About
ever.
everyone. Yeah.
We genuinely think like so many of these teams are like
Yeah,
just like
it's
the
great
best people ever.
Wholesome. When it's all said and done, they're the only people that can relate to what you've been through. So
Mhm,
like
mhm.
even like our like race chat like is active, and we raced like 2.5 years ago. Like
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
something like makes us think of the race, and we're like, oh yeah.
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 Now this community that we get to be part of, which is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
awesome, and we're so glad you're here on our show today.
I
that
know.
we
That's
became
a
friends.
great like segue into being like, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank
Like,
you so much for
course, thank you
having
for
us.
having
We
us.
love talking about the race with other super fans.
it's always so amazing to talk about the race, but also like thank you so much for doing this the morning after this first episode. Like we needed this time anyway. Like we were gonna sit in a room and be like, let's talk.
Fully debrief, yeah.
So like it's so great to like have you guys here and also like pick your guys' brains
Oh,
about
yeah.
everything, and you guys are just the best.
Yeah.
Thank you so
course.
much. Y'all are the best.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see
y'all.
like
Can't
how
wait.
it transpires
Yeah.
out. There's
Keep
so
killing
much.
it.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. But Maya, you were about to be in a basketball game
Yes,
And we need
yes,
to talk
I
about
am.
with Jeff from our season.
Yes, of course. I'm so excited to meet him.
So what is
Best
it?
person ever! Like, oh my
Oh my
god.
goodness.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited to have more race representation at this event. It's in Pittsburgh, April 5th. It's for the La Premisa Foundation, creating scholarship foundations for people from Puerto Rico in Western Pennsylvania. I'm so excited. I got
Cool.
to be a part of it last year. I was a part of the soccer
You
game.
played?
Yeah, didn't play. I helped coach. Like I was there, but I got to
Did
be
you
a
play
part of it
basketball?
then.
Do you have history?
I coached it. Like
Oh,
really?
Yeah, my little cousin's team. Like I coached them from like I don't even know how old they were. Like till they were in middle school. I coached
That
them
is
for
so
a little
awesome.
while.
I like am so far removed from basketball that I think when we were talking about this earlier, I was like, basketball. How random! Like
Yeah.
because I like have known nothing about basketball, but that is so awesome.
No, I'm so excited,
That
and
is so cool.
I get to be a part of it, and it's always so amazing to see so many like great people show up for the event. Like
Now my wheels are turning. I'm like, I have to go out.
you have to
no?
come. You have to come.
And you said there's an extra slot. Me saying I don't know anything
I
about
think there
basketball.
might
and
be. I think so.
If there might be, maybe I gotta hit the court.
Yes.
But maybe not.
Maybe
my,
not.
my
I'll
once
just
a
have a
week practice.
Pittsburgh vacation.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are the best. Seriously.
Aw.
Oh.
Much love. And thank you
Thanks so
guys
much.
also for like you guys it's your spring break,
Yeah.
like to spend it around this D&D table. It's like,
There's nothing else I'd rather do though.
Yeah.
So.
So
you're the
true.
best.
D&D queen. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching.
And see you later. Okay,
Bye.